Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it if you jump on here live here on this Wednesday night. It's hard to believe if you're on the East Coast, you're less than 2.5 hours away from It's Gonna Be May, in the words of Justin Timberlake. But if you jump on here live here on this Wednesday night, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Tonight I want to talk the transfer portal because we're pretty much wrapping up the spring transfer portal window. Now, when I checked around 5:30 this afternoon, there was about 1,500 players who had entered the transfer portal. Now, of course, some have still not committed to a new school. Some entered and withdrew and changed their mind, and some have entered and they're transferring and they've announced where they're transferring to. But there's just no way that I could write 1,400 names on one piece of paper or on one board. So I'm just going to talk about some of the players that are transferring. Some you may know, some you may not, but you can get on any sports website and find a list 1 through 1,400 of all the players who have either already transferred or are transferring when they decide where they're going to or change their mind. First, I want to talk quickly about Jordan Travis, just in case you haven't heard about him. He announced, I guess it was this morning, because it was this morning when I saw it, that he is retiring from football, and you hate it because by all accounts, all I've ever heard about the man are great things on and off the field. They say, he's a great teammate, great dude, great to be around. But, in his senior year at Florida State, he broke his leg. And, of course, it took him out for the season and changed, the playoff picture in college football in the 2023 season. And he was still going to try to go to the NFL. For whatever reason, his leg just never got better. Hey there, Daniel. Glad to have you here. And the article I read this morning said that, he's did all the rehab he's been told to do, and he's tried all he can try, and it's just not gotten better. Sometimes you have the heart for it, and your body's just not cut out for it. You can think about, any sport. Football, baseball, basketball, lacrosse, any of them. Hey there, Scum Juice, glad to have you here. And you can think of, multiple players who want to play, and for whatever reason, they just can't stay healthy. If you're a wrestling fan, you can look right now at NXT. There's a lady named Nikita Lyons. I don't think she's hurt right now. I think she's just not being used. But, she busted onto the scene, and within 6 months, she was hurt. She was out for about a year. She came back, wrestled, I think, 2 matches, and she got hurt, and she was out for 8 or 9 months. Years ago, Georgia had a running back. I think his name was, if I'm not mistaken, Danny Ware. And, Danny Ware was like a 25-star kid, coming out of high school. He was beyond 5 stars. If you could rate somebody beyond 5 stars, he would have had it. And by all accounts, he was going to be the next big thing. And I think his whole career at Georgia, he seemed like he might have played 15 games. He was always hurt. And that happens, And when things like that happen, it doesn't matter how good you are or what your talent level is. You can look right now at baseball. There's a pitcher named Jacob deGrom who, may be the best pitcher that the baseball game has ever seen, but we'll never know because he makes 2 starts a year because he is always, always, always hurt. You look at basketball. Kawhi Leonard has been in NBA now for 10 years. He's played 20 games. He is always hurt. Now, some of those guys, like Kawhi Leonard, I don't think he's hurt. I just think he doesn't care about basketball, just doesn't want to play. But there are also people like Jordan Travis who wants to play and his body just won't allow him. So you hate to hear that and hate to see that. But Jordan Travis is giving up football. He also played baseball. But, if you break your leg and it's not healing for football, you can't play baseball either. But let's talk about some of these players who are transferring in the world of college football. Zach Rice is going from North Carolina to Syracuse. Ty Cooper is going from Tulane to Tulsa. Mark Hamper, Wisconsin, he's going to California. From McNeese State to Oklahoma, we have Jermichael Carter. And then we have DeMarcus Crosby going from New Mexico to Virginia. Sharmar Brown from North Dakota State going to the other side of America all the way to the Miami Hurricanes. Marcus Burris is transferring from Indiana to Memphis. John Lewis is transferring from UNLV to the Mountaineers of West Virginia. DeKalen Taylor is going from Incarnate Word to Colorado. Larry Johnson, not Grandmama, but the other Larry Johnson, is transferring from Tennessee to Colorado. And I'm going way back talking about Grandmama. You have to be probably at least 40 years old and up and had to be an NBA fan back in the day. The Charlotte Hornets had a player named Larry Johnson. At the time, there was a extremely popular sitcom, in my opinion, the best sitcom of all time, called Family Matters. And Larry Johnson had a guest appearance on there playing basketball with Steve Urkel. He wore a wig and his name was Grandmama. That was probably 93 or 94, I'm guessing. Carson Lee is going from Mississippi State to West Virginia. Rod Green is transferring from Purdue to Charlotte. John Slaughter is transferring from Tennessee to Colorado. Jalen Matthews is leaving Rutgers to go to Tallahassee and play for the Seminoles. Ben Gulbranson is transferring from Oregon State to Stanford. Ty Hudkins is leaving Purdue to go to Iowa. And you can't blame that guy because it seems like every year Iowa has a defensive player go in the first round of the draft. And they usually turn out to be pretty good. And Ty Hudkins might be that next one. You'll get a lot more looks at Iowa than you will at Purdue. Emmanuel Carney is transferring from Miami to Virginia. Branson Robinson, speaking of being hurt all the time, I think Branson Robinson in all his time at Georgia has ran the ball 5 times because he's always hurt. But he is transferring, staying in state, going from Georgia to Georgia State. Jordan Simmons is going from Ole Miss to Georgia State. And Darius Coffey is transferring from Northwestern to Purdue. And then we have a name that I think all college football fans are going to recognize, but you've probably forgotten about him. I've heard his name's pronounced Eric. I've heard it's pronounced Arik. I'm really not sure. There's no apostrophe in it, but some say it's pronounced Arik, but it's spelled A-R-I-K. Hey there, Austin. Glad to have you here, but whether you want to call him Eric or Arik, it doesn't matter, but his last name is Gilbert. I'm fantastic, Austin. Thank you for asking. So we'll go with Eric, only because I feel weird saying Eric when there's no apostrophe in his name. So why am I pausing? It's all one word. So we'll go with Eric Gilbert. Now, I got on Google, and according to the old-fashioned Google, he's 23. But I swear it feels like he's been in college since 1975. But I think in his collegiate career, he's committed to LSU, Georgia, Florida, and most recently Nebraska, and now he's transferring to Savannah State. He's from Georgia, so I understand you playing your last, year of college football back at home in Georgia for Savannah State. Now, of course, it's Savannah State, so you're not going to get any TV time. You're not going to be talked about, but maybe he'll get to start for a full year. And I'm not watching Dynamite Austin. I'm doing this video, but thank you for asking. But I've always heard that Eric battles, mental health issues. Now, I don't know the kid, so I can't confirm nor deny, but I've always heard that. But I know coming out of high school, everybody wanted him. And out of all the schools he's played for, he might have 10 catches. Because for whatever reason, he never gets listed as being hurt, but he never plays. So he's going to Savannah State. Now, he may end up being good enough to be in the NFL, but when you're never on the field, nobody knows. So Eric Gilbert will play his last year of college football for Savannah State. And you have to look at their logo very, very good because it looks exactly like the same logo of the HBCU school in Louisiana called Southern. And the last name on the list is a guy that's transferring sports, but not schools. If you're a college basketball fan, you may know the name, may not, because nobody likes to say his name because, first of all, nobody can spell it right, but it's 11 letters long. So if you spell it with not 11 letters, you spelled it wrong. But second of all, it's hard to pronounce, so everybody calls him Chef. But his name is actually Ian Shefflin. And he plays for Clemson. He's been on the basketball team now for what seems like the last 50 years. But he is out of collegiate basketball eligibility, so he's going to spend his last year of collegiate athletics playing for Clemson football. Now, I really haven't investigated enough to know, to the fullest extent why he's not going to the NBA. My guess is he must have been told he's not good enough because, there's no way the kid plays in the NFL. Especially when you always play basketball, now you're going to play 1 year football and be a NFL draft pick. That's more than likely not going to happen unless you just have the best year in the history of college football. But, if you think, or if you've been told you're good enough to play in the NBA, you would think you would go ahead and go to the NBA, at least the NBA G League, instead of waiting 1 year to play what would be, in turn, a wasted year of college football. So either Ian Shefflin really thinks he's got a chance to play in the NFL, or he's been told you're not going to cut it in the NBA. So he's just trying to make his collegiate career last one more year by playing football, but he will be on the Clemson football team this year. So he goes from Clemson basketball to Clemson football. So he's transferring sports, not transferring schools. And that's the list of some of the players who are transferring. Like I said earlier, you can get on any sports website and find a complete list of every player that's transferring, whether they've committed to a new school, not committed to a new school, and then even those that put their name in the hat and then withdrew, changed their mind, and decided to stay where they were. But there's no way I can write down over 1,000 names and do them in one video. That would not happen. So I just picked some random names. Hopefully you knew some of these guys and wrote their names down. But any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. My hope is to do a video tomorrow night, but I've got to cover some high school playoff baseball tomorrow, so I won't get home till late. So depending on how late it is, will be determining whether or not I'm on here. If I'm not on here tomorrow night, you know why. I was producing high school baseball and just got home too late. So tomorrow night, if there's no video, that's why. Well, let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. The reason aliens don't visit us is because our solar system has received terrible reviews. We only have 1 star. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.